Hello and welcome back to the APSCC 2021 webinar series. I'm Christopher Slaughter. I'm your MC for the series. Today, we're very pleased to welcome you to our first Innovation Showcase. This is a new idea that we're trialing here at APSCC as part of the webinar series. These are short presentations from a number of companies, individual presentations from individual companies talking about their latest innovations and what they're doing that's new and interesting here in the space and satellite industry. First up is Walt Anderson, who is the founder and CEO of Avialto, a high-altitude platform systems operator. And Walt's going to give us an introduction to not just HAPS, but to his company's particular brand of HAPS and how it all works to provide telecommunications around the world in a variety of different locations. So please, here's Walt Anderson.
Hello, my name is Walt Anderson. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Avialto. Avialto was formed to solve a couple of different problems. One of the problems is talked about a lot, the 3 billion people in the digital divide that aren't connected. And while there's this idea that all those people are too poor to pay for internet, that's not actually true. This is a photo of a medical student who had to walk up a hill outside her village to get a signal so she could do online learning. This family had enough money to pay for service, they just couldn't get service in their village. So a large portion of the 3 billion unconnected people in the world can purchase services if the price is not too high. We're building a high altitude platform vehicles that will operate in the stratosphere, and they'll work a lot like satellites. In fact, from the ground, the terminal will consider them a satellite. Now, this could be somewhat disruptive to portions of the satellite industry, but it also doesn't have to be. We see ourselves as part of the industry and would like to cooperate with the satellite operators. Certainly, a very large number of people in the satellite industry will benefit if the industry expands. The people that make terminals definitely are excited about this. I'm in touch with two of the largest terminal makers, and they're working with us cooperatively to help us make sure we're compatible. There are markets where we can cooperate with existing satellite operators and simply help them reduce costs to their customers. One of those markets, of course, is maritime. As we put HAPS above the sea lanes, we will be the lowest cost and the highest quality service compared to satellite service. Mobile backhaul is not used very much in the world because it just is too expensive to do by satellite. So we can allow operators to extend their networks into areas where they otherwise wouldn't do it. So we're not taking any business away from satellite operators here. They can cooperate with us and help us market these services into those areas. And of course, VSATs and BTS towers in areas that are using satellite to link these towers. We're a wholesale provider, so we're not going to sell to the end user. We're selling to operators, and the operator will then sell it to the end user. So we can provide service from a single HAP to multiple 5Gs, multiple mobile towers, multiple maritime services. HAPs have been talked about a lot, particularly in Europe, for years, and they couldn't be built. The materials just weren't there. The batteries weren't efficient, solar panels weren't efficient, the lightweight materials for the balloon section weren't efficient. But in 2013, my partner and I realized that it was possible to build a commercially viable HAP. So we started experimenting. We the unpowered vehicle here in the Black Rock Desert, Nevada. We sent payloads on balloon up to the stratosphere where the temperature is -50 to -70 C to see if those materials could withstand that temperature. We built a 28-meter vehicle, and we also flew that in the Black Rock Desert, and we tested it to death. We got approval from the FAA, US FAA, for an airworthiness for this vehicle. Now, this isn't the final design. This looks more like the final design. And we've moved all our operations now to the UK. This is a smaller size vehicle that we're using to calibrate our autopilot in a large hangar in Bristol, UK. The vehicle will look something like this. This is a CAD/CAM drawing, 4 propellers, 2 on each side, with a telecom payload on the bottom. And of course, the power law of radio is if you're 100 times close to the ground, your signal can be 100 times smaller, and you'll still get the same amount of power to the ground. We're not going to take over the telecom industry. That's not our plan. There are just certain areas, certain particular parts of the world where we will be the best option, just like fiber is the best option in some areas and microwave is the best option. And we want to work cooperatively within the industry to help everyone prosper. The difference between us and a geosat is primarily latency. So the quality is a little better because it's much lower latency. Even the LEOsats have much higher latency than us. So our idea is to have a price point that would allow operators on the ground, various VSAT operators and others, to be able to buy our service and compete with the LEOsats that are coming soon. So satellite operators are facing price pressures tremendously. Some of them are bankrupt, some are really struggling. We can help a satellite operator diversify their portfolio of service and allow them to offer lower cost services in portions of their service area and leave the satellites for areas where they can sell the higher price service. So that's our basic comment. We have a bunch of partners. We're a very small company, but we're working with a number of contractors and partners in the UK primarily. Like Cameron Balloons is the largest hot air balloon manufacturer in the world. They're making our balloon portion. So that's our plan, and we'd like to work together with the association, with its members, to see how we can lower the cost of telecom in Southeast Asia, increase service for the digital divide, and perhaps increase the total size of this industry so all the people in the industry can prosper. Thank you. There's a short video I'd like you to see of our test vehicle moving around the hangar.
Thanks for that, Walt. Very interesting stuff. So you mentioned that you're a startup. You're founded a couple of years ago. What's your current time to market? What do you have plans for an initial deployment? Are you still in testing for the time being? You said you're licensed by the FAA. Where are you at? How long are you from actually having a working prototype?
Okay. Well, one of our test vehicles, the 28-meter vehicle, was given an airworthy certificate by the FAA. But we're a UK company, and we're going to produce the vehicles in the UK. So we're ultimately going to get our approvals and certifications from the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority in the UK. We're starting the process of getting flight approval in the UK at the end of this month. We've built another subscale vehicle about 15.5 meters long, 51 feet long. That vehicle will have much of the same avionics, the electronics, the avionics, the transponder, virtually identical to the full-size vehicle. So the CAA is going to allow us to do a lot of proof of concept testing with that smaller vehicle, which will lower our costs, make life easier for us. So this is the first steps. We'll be flying a little more indoors, then we'll go on a tether, meaning tied to the ground. Then we'll fly within sight where we can see the vehicle as we're controlling it. And then we'll send the vehicle beyond line of sight where we can't see it, and it'll be controlled with a satellite link. will prove to CA that we can safely control it, that our safety equipment and backup systems are all working, that the autopilot knows how to pilot the vehicle autonomously and things like that. If all goes well, we will next, after that, build a single version of the full-size vehicle, the concept demonstrator, with a telecom payload on board. And that could happen in less than a year. We could potentially have flight approval in less than a year, but then we only have one vehicle. So we have to produce a few more vehicles. We're talking right now extensively in Indonesia. We've gotten a huge response from the business community there and the government, because they seem to believe that this is the only technology that can solve certain problems they have in telecom. They've said that to us. But we're also talking to people in Spain, Morocco, Mexico, El Salvador, Arizona in the United States, and parts of Western Africa, Benin, which is right near Nigeria. So we're talking to a lot of places. We would like to do Indonesia first for a number of reasons. It's the perfect market for this. It's the second country to adopt satellite technology in the world. So there's a lot of really talented, skilled people there that can help us. But we'll see.
When you talk about the flight testing and everything, it feels like there's so much of this is weather dependent, that the testing process really needs to go through, not just altitude in terms of, how long is the tether, how high up are you going? It's what are the weather conditions that you're dealing with? Because that's the thing that a satellite is not subject to, an undersea cable is not subject to, but a high altitude platform.
Yeah. That's correct. Now, when we're at the stratospheric level that we're operating, 18,000 to 22,000 meters above 65,000 feet, there's not really weather. There's very steady and very low winds up there. But when we're moving from our launch and land site up or down, we do have to contend with weather. And that's when we have to follow all the safety regulations that any commercial aircraft has to follow. But we will have a hangar at our launch land site and try to get the vehicle in and out of that hangar as quickly as possible, because most accidents of this type of craft, airships, they're like big balloons. They blow around. So you want to get them off the ground quickly and back on the secure area very quickly.
So when you talked about the markets that you're exploring and the markets you're in discussion with, it's quite a range around the world, a whole different range of economic situations as well as geographic locations. It feels to me, though, you're also dealing with different governmental regimes and different sort of regulatory systems. Which is a bigger problem? Are you dealing with the satellite, the space regulatory people, the aviation regulatory people, the telecom regulatory people, or a combination of all of them?
Two of those three. We are not a satellite, and under ITU definition, we're a terrestrial service. So we're not a satellite. So we deal with two regulatory regimes, aviation and terrestrial frequency. Now, aviation has a lot of common issues throughout the world for the safety, so that aircraft can fly anywhere in the world and follow much of the same procedures. That's good. Our flight approval in the UK does not automatically get acceptance in other countries, but a country like Indonesia that really wants our service will help us get the people in there, regulatory people, to review this properly and feel comfortable with us. The nice thing about our service, it'll work in many parts of the world. So if one country doesn't want it, or the regulators want to be difficult, we just say, next, where are we going to operate next? There's a massive market waiting for this, because if you are the lowest cost and highest quality provider in certain market niches, you have a lot of choices. The second part of the regulatory issue is more controversial and will be for some of your members. It's the frequencies. We intend to reuse the satellite frequencies on a non-interference basis. Now, that's easier than it seems. Across the equatorial arc, the satellites are spaced 2 degrees apart. And by moving a dish 2 degrees, you're pointing to a different satellite. We're going to be more than 4 degrees off axis for anybody we point to. So there's no way we're going to interfere with any of the geosynchronous operators. We're guaranteeing that. We will not do it. And in fact, any licensing we get, say, from the authorities in Indonesia or other countries, will have that as a specification of our license. we can control the power levels. We'll operate on similar power levels as the satellite. Not too much, not too little, but enough to get down to the terminals. So we won't blow anybody out. And we have to get that kind of approval. Now, that's a terrestrial frequency approval, and the countries are allowed to regulate how they use their frequencies internally as long as it doesn't affect somebody across the border. We've already gotten some positive indications from Indonesia and 4 or 5 of the other countries we've talked to, including Spain. But it remains to be seen how we finally convince. We have reports from experts. We have, so we'll see how that works out.
Got it. One last question. I'm a little concerned with time. There really hasn't been a commercial deployment of a high altitude platform service to date. It feels like Project Loon, which was Google's using weather balloons, was probably the closest approximation we have of that, and that never really went to market, never really came to fruition. I mean, is there a comparison to be drawn there, or are they totally different?
Well, I have to be a little bit undiplomatic and say that Project Loon was technically non-feasible, and I think they must have known that for years. And it also had a terrible business case that made no sense whatsoever, and I can explain both things. The winds aloft at that altitude are called prevailing winds because they prevail. They generally go the same direction. Now, you can sometimes change altitude and change direction, sometimes, some places. And Loon's whole story was they were going to constantly change the altitude of their balloon, and they're moving this way, and they change the altitude, they start moving that way. That doesn't work consistently, and it doesn't allow you to keep that balloon in one place over a long period of time. It just didn't work. They developed unbelievably sophisticated algorithms trying to make it work, and it never worked. So that was technically unfeasible. We have a powered airship vehicle. The wind's blowing 20 miles per hour, 20 kilometers an hour. We're moving against the wind to stay in exactly the same place. We're not going to move more than 150 meters from that center point for 3 months at a time. And then another vehicle will come and take over. Our vehicle will go down to be serviced. So totally different strategy. Secondarily, Loon was communicating directly to the phone on the ground. That's a terrible waste of frequencies. They cover this vast territory, and usually within a large territory like that, there'd be multiple mobile towers reusing those frequencies again and again and again. But here they're burning that whole frequency in a 90 mile diameter circle, and that really isn't very practical. Plus, it isn't profitable. A cell phone tower in the sky is not what we're doing. We're going to provide service to multiple cell phone towers on a wholesale basis. We're going to help them make a profit, not try to steal their profits. So I think Loon, like I said, I think they must have known it didn't work for a while. It's a different business model, different technical model. I'm a telecom guy from way back. I'm building this vehicle to do telecom, not because I want to build a vehicle.
Got it. Listen, Walt, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today, and we look forward to great things from Avialto.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you guys.
And that was Walt Anderson, the founder and CEO of Avialto, having a look at what's going on with HAPS and his company. Joining us now, Safran Data Systems, Thierry Balanche, and he's going to give us a quick introduction to some of the latest in satellite monitoring systems that Safran is developing. So please, Thierry.
Good afternoon, Asia. I would like to thank APSCC for the invitation to participate today to this innovation showcase. My name is Thierry Balanche. I'm in charge of sales for satellite communication and situational awareness in Safran Data System. Safran Data System is well known in space activities with its Cortex series for housekeeping of the satellite, remote sensing. In space activities, we recently had been deeply involved with the US and with Europe initiative. And as we did not have the chance to travel during the last 18 months now, we would like to update you on the new innovative solution we have in our portfolio. So Safran Data System put a special attention on two sides, providing a service of data. The data itself, which needs to be accurate, curated, and qualified. And we'll explain how we did this. And on the information out of this data has to be trusted, relevant, and reliable. And also needs to be represented in a very good, nice manner in order to be understood quickly. We rely on our portfolio for orbital position, which is a Wetrack equipment and services. We have for orbital position on the GEO satellite, MEO and LEO now, and also the Lynx series for space domain awareness to deliver spectral analysis, monitoring, interference mitigation, and also transmitter mapping. In both domains, for space situational awareness and space domain awareness, we need to be great. Great means responsive. We need to have a global approach, and that's why we deploy system worldwide. We need to be responsive 24/7 all year long. And that's why we have fully automated system, no man in the loop. Exhaustive, so we come from GEO and now going to LEO in order to have the full view of transmitting objects as we are working in RF. For debris, we rely more on optical or radar or sensor. We need to be accurate, and we put, as I was saying, very good special attention on data accuracy and reliability in order to have, at the end, true trusted information. Last but not least, timely. As this world is now fully dynamic, we need to be as much real time as possible. Before we had SATCOM on GEO, on grounded transmitters, so it was fixed environment with a link in between. Now the SATCOMs come on LEO satellite, and the transmitter comes on vehicle, even on aircraft. So it's make fully dynamic environment. That's why we need to go work in anticipation and not in mitigation as we used to do. Then for orbital position, we have our Wetrack service, which is innovative, competitive, and quite unique. And I'm going to introduce this service with a video. So put attention to the video. I'm with you in a sec.
Welcome to the new frontier, a strategic territory with a role for the future in a dynamic, fast-changing world. Space is a competitive domain with exponential growth, more and more players in the market, and increasing sources of congestion. One key need: comprehensive space knowledge and awareness. Wetrack accompanies you on your mission. A pioneer in passive RF technology for over a decade, Wetrack generates reliable and ultra-accurate data for LEO to GEO satellites and beyond to optimize your space domain awareness. Benefit from a unique identification of each satellite from the moment of injection. Complementary to optical, radar, and laser technologies, Wetrack prevents blind decisions in threat scenarios thanks to real-time detection. It provides unparalleled relative accuracy without cross-tagging for collision avoidance. Get full coverage and a high data refresh rate for sharper decision-making at all orbit regimes, thanks to our global coverage. With automated sensors for detection, you can stay aware 24/7, 365 days a year. Wetrack provides an innovative, competitive, and tailored data service, a unique solution to meet major current and future space challenges. Wetrack, sharpen your space awareness.
So you understood from the movie the advantage of passive RF, means fully passive first. Then accurate, we go talking about accuracy of 100 meters on the geo satellite, 100 meters on the position accuracy of the geo satellite, and 10 meters accuracy on the LEO satellite. We can do constant tracking, big advantage comparing with optical, for example. We are not depending on the weather or the daylight, which gives us the ability to have high revisiting time of the satellite. We're talking about 30-minute revisit. So every 30 minutes, we do a measurement on each satellite. And today we see more than 250 satellites on the geo belt. Then we can detect maneuver in real time, which is unique. And we don't do cross-tagging as we have a clear identification of each transmitting asset. We can distinguish two objects even when they are in close approach. Here is a representation of what you have up on the top of your head. The sensor is based in Thailand, and we see more than 100 degrees over Asia. This is a representation of a GSAT satellite, which are co-located. We can distinguish clearly each satellite, have a very accurate position of each of them. And we see about 80 satellites over Asia. You clearly see Palapadi is coming cruising around here. And here is a representation also of the full view with those highly inclined satellite, which we can catch also. To complement the orbital position we give through Wetrack service, it's now important, as I was explaining, in the fully dynamic environment to associate the position of the satellite with the position of the transmitter and to have the link in between those two. In order to predict, to detect, anticipate any issues. Links complement this orbital information with spectral information, as I will explain, and transmitter position with our links series product. Here is the links monitor, which can display first, as you can see here on the screen, the spectrum, can detect any new carrier occurrence or disappearance, and can analyze the carrier very deeply, as we can go down to the modulation or FEC. We can record any events when it's secure, fully automated, means when you have a spurious interrupt, you will catch it automatically with the monitoring system, which will record. And then as this system is closely coupled with the links locator, is machine-to-machine link, you can have geolocation done automatically on spurious interrupt, for example, but it could be any carrier on the transponder. The output of the monitoring will be charts, table, alarms, history, graph, and statistic. Then any carrier you see here could be represented here, but could be located. And that's what we do now with the links locator, fully automated geolocation of full transponder. As you see here, you have 300 carrier located and in 30 minutes, I would say. It takes less than 1 minute to locate a carrier, but we can do several carriers in parallel. And we have a very good accuracy due to, and thanks to our Wetrack service. We're talking about an accuracy of less than 5 kilometers. Most of the time, I would say it's 1 kilometer from the measure point. As you see here on Indian Ocean, it's a very small island, or on this other example, in the desert, where it's in the middle of nowhere. But if you zoom, you can see there is a UN based here. Okay, so that's what you can do with geolocation, is a full mapping. So you have the understanding of the position of the satellite, the position of the transmitter, and with link monitor, the link in between, which give us the full view on the space domain awareness. So the services we deliver are timely, accurate for the space domain awareness in order to get evidence of hazardous activities and threat to decision maker, commander, operator, any satellite user, having access to the one specific information of the space environment at any time, up to the entire information of the space situation all the time. So a system is producing data now. We will be happy to share this with you for evaluation, demonstration, presentation, and as soon as we will be released to visit you. I'd like to thank you for your attention and feel free to contact us for any more information. Have a good show.
Thierry Belange from Safran Data Systems, thank you so much for that, that presentation. And thank you to Walt Anderson from Avialto. Again, this is the first in our series of innovation showcases. We'll have another one coming at you sometime in August, and look forward to further iterations of the innovation showcase coming to you soon. But please do join us for the rest of the webinar series. You can find out what's coming up next at APSCCSat.com, APSCCSAT.com. Which is one of the places that you should be able to see the entire webinar series. It is for free, so you can register at APSCCSat.com. And of course, if you're interested in finding out more about APSCC, the Asia Pacific Satellite Communications Council, check us out at apscc.or.kr. Thank you again, and have a good day.